This video is going to be a perfect example of things I've been talking about pretty much every day for years on end now. So, this boy honestly reminds me of a couple of people I've met, even a few siblings I have. And I'm trying to figure out how to break this down. He's pretty much doing the usual things that traumatized boys do. And of course, people are going to feel some type of way about him because ageism, racism, and sexism. And of course, when I say racism, I don't just mean like white supremacists or anything like that. Anytime I say racism, do know that I also mean Willie Lynch syndrome house niggers too. I never exclude them. So anytime you hear me say racism, just throw that in there because they're a part of it. So the sexist side. The sexist side goes into the fact that if he was a little girl out here running around, sleeping on the sidewalk, being kidnapped in that state, people would care somewhat more. And I say somewhat because, I mean, due to how the world is and how it's falling apart, not too many people really care that much about the next person. And a lot of people hate youth and kids. So, somewhat, people would feel a little bad for um, I was gonna say feel a little bad for him, but I'm saying if he was a girl, so I don't know if that would have came out right. But people would care somewhat more. Two, the racial or ethnic thing plays a big role because a lot of people just see him as the stereotypical quote unquote bad black boy with ADHD or some other mental label. Because of course, when you're in situations like this, especially when it comes to America's mental illness obsession, where people have to throw around labels, so society doesn't have to take accountability for the cult that it is. So people be like, well, this doesn't have anything to do with society, and this isn't a societal issue because everything that happened to this kid is their fault because they're quote unquote bad, crazy, and slow. And of course, all mental labels fall under the bad, crazy, and slow category. And of course, some of the comments are saying he's emotionally disturbed and all that. And somebody was even like, he's emotionally and behaviorally disturbed. And what was it? Oh yeah, and they were like, there's plenty of kids and special ed all over America with the same issues he has. And that's the thing with America's mental illness obsession. It's a way for nobody to take accountability for anything. So somebody can like run around doing stuff to people and then be like, well, it's not my fault because I'm a diagnosed whatever in the world. And then people will throw these false labels at their victim, whether the person even really has it or not. And usually they don't. Because for one, losing your mind and becoming messed up is a process. If there was actually a system put in place to help, or if society cared enough to help its people, people like this kid, and even like me in other situations, could actually get real quote unquote help and community before they get the chance to become a quote unquote psycho or whatever in the world people want to call somebody. Trying to remember what point I was getting at. I lost my train of thought as usual. But I do know I'm supposed to circle back around to the labeling thing. Oh yeah, so people will be like, well, it's not my bad parenting, my kid just has ADHD, or it's not, or it doesn't matter if this kid is being trafficked because they deserve it because they're one of the bad crazy kids or they're one of the bad kids. And circling back to that special ed comment, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to find it. It reminded me of something someone said a while ago to me. And they were like, special ed is just a trash can for traumatized kids, and it is. Because a stereotypical special ed, people think of um people think of somebody with some severe birth defect and developmental disorder that's sitting around making noises. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying that's what people see special ed as. but that's nowhere near what it is, actually. In fact, I would say, with how the Cash for Kids system works, it's probably less of that stereotype and more so just people with trauma symptoms. I have to edit this in because I don't think I remember to say this part, but I've seen people get thrown in these placements for being too quiet. Some people joke too much because they like to make other people happy. Some people are too nice. Some people... Honestly, this girl wasn't even necessarily mean. It's just that due to the things she had been through, she didn't really... She wasn't like buddy, but I mean, she wasn't mean either. She was just realistic. Either way, you're put in there because of your parents. Or because you don't have any. And you're in foster care. And that's pretty much the end all be all. Now, I do know, like, some people's parents are fighting to get them out of foster care and they're fighting against their kids being put in these placements, but they don't have any rights to really help you. And there's a lot of situations like that. I've seen people try to save up gas money and drive hundreds of miles away to try to rescue their kid from a TTI cult that their school trafficked them to. Overall, special ed is just another part of the Cash for Kids system that's rooted in eugenics and doing trauma-based mind control on people. And that's in the AG side and the other branches. They always have to try to brainwash you into believing that you deserve it too. And that you supposedly did something so terribly wrong at 7, 8, 9, any age, that made people hate you. And keep in mind that everybody isn't out to get you, but at the minimum, a lot of people just don't care either way about the next person. But everybody isn't necessarily, like, in on the Cash for Kids system, although a lot of people are at least enablers and flying monkeys to it. But they'll try to make you feel like you did something terribly wrong and everybody hates you. And they'll try to convince you that there's a reason you're in there, but there really isn't. If you weren't in your abuse situation, you would never even know these placements exist. In fact, when my mom got me put in this Jim Crow placement / self-confined placement, the staff kept saying that they really didn't even understand why I was in there. But of course, I'm part of their paycheck, so why would they do anything to help me get out of it? And realistically, they kept saying that, I mean, at the end of the day, my mom needed to take me out. But that's a whole nother video. And me and the other kids in the placement would make jokes about how the quote-unquote normal kids actually had a whole bunch of issues. Like, they'd be walking on top of the lunch tables. I remember this one time I was going to the bathroom or being walked to the bathroom, another story. And this one girl was talking junk to the staff member who was sweeping, and she was like, "Yeah, ho, sweep that floor." Actually, he was mopping. And I was like, but these are the people called the quote-unquote normal kids. But they're actually bad or whatever we're being made to think we are. Because, like, it was kind of really hard to understand what we were supposed to be. Because, like I said before, these staff always made it clear this placement wasn't for mental illness because they don't deal with that. And if somebody was mentally ill, they'd be somewhere worse. But, yeah. But like this dude said to me some years ago, he was like, "I hate how people raise kids these days. They either coddle them so much they're not prepared for the real world, or they abuse and traumatize them." And honestly, I don't even really think it's just a these days thing. This has been going on for forever and a day. I really think what people like him should be saying is, "I hate how people raise their kids how Bill or Molek would want them to raise their kids these days." Or these past years. And yeah, I can say a lot about that. In fact, one time this boy had brought to the attention of the self-confined staff the behavior of the quote-unquote normal kids. And one of the staff members was like, "That's because their parents won't go get them diagnosed." So instead of somebody actually parenting their kids right, instead of having their kids running around cursing people out, or running around showing a whole bunch of trauma symptoms. They're just supposed to go take their kids somewhere to get some made up label slapped on them. It's all stupid, but that's the mental illness obsession. How do I break this down? For one, special ed is one of the many branches of the Cash for Kids system. In fact, the American school system is a branch of the Cash for Kids system itself. And you only get into these types of placements if you either have abusive parents or if you don't have parents at all and you're in foster care. Like, if you're in the foster care branch of the Cash for Kids system, you may not be allowed to go to school, or you're not allowed to go to real school. And I keep forgetting to make that video that I've been meaning to make for years about fake schools and real schools. So, what this means is that you, how do I put this? Your group home wants to quote unquote test you. So, you'll be put in some alternative school or some special ed placement for a year plus that isn't for academics, so you're not quote unquote learning any of the things you're supposed to be learning, none of that. You're just sitting somewhere that's pretty much a daycare for a year or more while the group home gets to see how you are and whether you're quote unquote normal or not, and whether you're too traumatized, quote unquote, or whether you're too depressed or too anxious and things like that. And if the group home likes you enough, and if you're decent enough and you're not too traumatized, which also falls under the bad, crazy, and slow labels, then you can actually go to school and actually learn the different things you're supposed to be learning to graduate with the quote unquote normal kids. And that's just from the group home foster care standpoint. So when you get put in a group home or foster care, you sit in these placements until they let you actually go to school, pretty much, if ever. And that can depend on a couple of things with your situation. Because, of course, when nobody has custody over somebody, they can't enroll themselves in school under 18. So, depending on your situation, you still can't go to school. Not that that even matters that much. I mean, everybody should know how to read and do basic math. But the indoctrination system isn't worth risking your life over, but that's another video. What was the next thing I was going to say? I don't remember, so I'm going to look for the comment and then I'm going to play some of the video. So there's this. He really needs therapy and maybe a psych evaluation. And that's the thing, though. All these sick, demonized people who just want to see other people die, pretty much, they act like they don't have their own deep-rooted issues and like they don't literally hate everybody. That's another thing with this American mental illness obsession where people love to throw around these labels. And it's honestly really annoying. Like, there definitely has to be a principality over this whole mental illness obsession that people have. And it makes sense that there would be. I don't know what it would be, though. Probably not Hippocrates. Although he's the one over the mainstream medical system. And if you don't know, to graduate, they have to take the Hippocratic Oath. So they have to do this little ceremony thing in medical school. I think this person's talking about Daisy. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, another thing. That's something that you're gonna see a lot if you ever go through the Cash for Kids system, or if you have been, you know. Anything you do or don't do is used against you because they have to brainwash you and make you feel like you're going through all this stuff because you did something. And like you did something oh so terrible when you were newborn to where you made yourself pretty much get trafficked through these different systems, end up in these situations. And like I've said before, These systems are all a part of the enemy's plan, commonly for anointed or prophetic people, to screw you up, drive you crazy, have you end up unalive by one of these Cash for Kids system staff, maybe yourself, dead or locked up for the rest of your life over something that didn't happen, or maybe something that you did do. And all that is just to keep you from meeting your true purpose. Like, I really feel like the Cash for Kids system is one of the biggest issues for anointed or prophetic people. And I mean all the branches, even when it comes to the I can't say that word on here without this getting taken down, but I'll say the PP clinics, which were also made for eugenics just like the rest of the Cash for Kids system. The PP clinics are there to take you out before you even get a chance. I'm not trying to dismiss any trauma he may have. I hate when people say they're not trying to do something when they are. Kind of like that dude who was quote unquote reacting to Allie Carter and saying, I'm not going to call her a liar, but, and then go on for an hour plus about how she's lying. That's really annoying to me. It's clear he has some sort of undiagnosed behavioral issue. What diagnosis would you even really get for that? Bad black boy with ADHD? I mean, what is a behavior? That's something else that's really annoying in the Cash for Kids system too. And the commonly the placements, the little trafficking organizations that are locking people up to SA and drug them, commonly those ones that call people behavior kids, they're doing that because just like the usual, they don't really have any training for people to work, quote unquote, work with people who have, quote unquote, mental illness or quote unquote, retarded. So, since they don't have training for that, they'll just say, this is for people with behavioral issues, not mental illness, because we don't handle that. And then here's the comment. I think he is considered emotionally disturbed. The public schools have a lot of students like that in special ed. And that's another thing, though. That's why I've been saying since day one, when I first saw the first video, he needs to get away from all these people that are exploiting him and making videos about him, because none of these people in this comment section and most people don't give a crap about him or really anybody else, probably not even really their self. And they want to see people like him do bad. They want to see people like him in prison for the rest of their life, or dead. That's how these people really feel. And that's why he needs to get away from all these exploitative people who are making these videos, because they're just making him look bad. In fact, in this specific video, which I'm going to play some of it, or at least I think I can do that without getting like copyright striked, he's arguing with his mom because his mom tried to get somebody to drug him again and lock him up, which is really sick. I wonder if she's still in prison or not. Like, she needs to be back in there from the sounds of it. Honestly, his whole family does, but of course that'll never happen. And then he's saying he has anger issues from, according to this person. And that's something else. Don't get caught up in saying things like, I have bipolar, or I'm a narcissist. Because all that really does is set you up to actually become that. Which goes along with the fact that even if somebody doesn't even really have a certain label, they get worse after they get a diagnosis because they feel like, oh, well, this is just me because I'm just borderline, so I need to run around harassing people. Don't do that. Don't ever claim labels. Honestly, I would say probably don't even really claim PTSD too much. It just sets you up to keep issues and get worse. Oh, they deleted my comment as usual. I told this person that if they see him again, please tell him to get off camera. Like, that's what somebody really needs to tell him, and to get away from these people. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so circling back to something that I never finished. He's the usual traumatized boy, because when boys get traumatized and they get essayed and all that stuff, they feel like they have to act tough because they want to show that they're still a male and all those things that go along with that. That's why commonly they'll get tattoos from their forehead or the top of their head down to their feet. they'll fall into the feminine thug persona because the mainstream media and the music industry makes people think that being a man or being tough is walking around with your butt out harassing people, and it's not. That the walking around with your butt out thing comes from Virgo-basal trauma-based mind control and slavery and other things that go along with that. Okay, wait a minute. He is an active participant in his life. The way he was speaking on the phone was rough. This comment is true though. Okay, let me play some of this because I keep losing my train of thought as usual, and now I'm like reading stuff.
Fucking shit, so what have you about to say about that? I have 100
Dang, I never finished that other sentence. I always do this. You guys know my speech patterns are kind of whatever, and I can't remember. Just bear with me.
I mean, sis.
I keep trying to go back.
Hey, Cassandra, this is Mark Leda. You called me about trying to reach your son, Billy?
Yes.
I'm here with Billy right now.
Billy.
I like how she got on the phone sounding like she's on the verge of tears or is crying. People like that, they know how to cry on cue to make it seem like they care when they really don't. And that's really annoying, but I'm not even going to get into that.
Hello. How the fuck are you doing? Come on, Billy, don't be rude. I'm cussing. Well, you're the one who lied to the person who was trying to give me a place to stay tonight and told them to get me high and call the police behind my back, so what the fuck are you doing? What are you talking about? I didn't say nothing about getting you high.
And another thing, people are gonna, of course, as they already pretty much are, try to make it seem like he's psychotic because he's mad and smiling at the same time. As if, well, honestly, if you've never been put in a situation like that, where you've had to do that, then you probably haven't really been through Jack anyway, to be truthfully honest. What was I gonna say? I don't even remember. But overall, though, if you're in a situation like this, don't sit around arguing with people. Just try not to. You really need to avoid your different abusers and exploiters and let me help you lunatics, as I call them. Because those people are just going to make things worse for you. And as you can see, people already know that nobody, well, not nobody, let me not say that, that the people watching these videos, majority of them don't give a crap, and they're the people who are contributing to the Cash for Kids system and all the related branches. And they know that these people want to see him in a bad predicament. But yet, the people who are exploiting him and making these videos are still making these videos knowing that all these videos are just being used against him.
What are you talking about? I don't like you getting high. I want you to stop. You're also always send me to fucking psych ward, so now I don't really know what to say to you. What's wrong with you? So I have a bunch of people trying to fucking get at me and warrant for my arrest, and they're sending police officers with fucking ATVs after me. You do have a warrant for your arrest because you didn't go to court. You're not complying with your probation. You know you just had probation court.
And that's the thing. That's why when you're in situations like this, you have to get out the air. You have to states away. You have to lay low. Because the thing is, the systems are going to try to tear you down. They want you locked up for the rest of your life. They want you to be their next slave. They want you to be their next Manchurian candidate. That's what they want from you. The only way to get out of situations like this when it comes to being dragged through the Cash for Kids system and being labeled with anything under the bad, crazy, and soul labels, the only thing you can do is back away slowly and quietly. That's the only thing you can do. You can't negotiate with people. You can't ask for, I don't know if I can pronounce this word or not, you can't ask for ultimatums with these people. Don't argue with these people. Like somebody told me, never argue with people that have the ability to ruin your life. Don't argue with people who are able to unalive you and then get away with it and act like it never happened. Or people who can get you locked up for no reason and then have you sitting somewhere locked up for years. And it's a really messed up situation. And I was really hoping he'd be able to get away from these people and he would leave Venice so this wouldn't happen. And with the way his mom is, it sounds like she's the type that will constantly press charges on their kids for things that didn't happen. And I'm really lucky that my mom didn't do that whole charges police thing. And I'm really lucky for that. Because I know 12-year-olds with all types of charges for things that never happened. And of course, the systems are against them because they know to mess up a nation, you have to destroy the youth because they are the future. And, yeah, so like I always say, child abuse is an agenda, not a coincidence, because a communist society has to turn out and traumatize the kids so they can never become functioning adults who can think for themselves. And so, since they can't think for themselves, they'll go along with any agenda that's pushed.
I have court in general. I don't know what the fuck it's for. Probably guardianship. But I ain't trying to deal with this shit. I ain't trying to deal with you.
And I worry about that too, because I kind of worry that when he goes to court to try to get Daisy to get what's that thing, custody over him or whatever, I worry that they may not let him leave and that they'll arrest him from the courtroom and then lock him up. And I mean, I understand that Daisy has a lot of issues going on. And so I know that, like, the way he probably sees it is that if Daisy gets custody of him, she'll help enroll him in school, and then he'll be able to go to school like he wants and do those other things he wants to do to get his life together. And he also knows that Daisy may not be too forceful or controlling, and she may not be too abusive. So he probably also knows that, like, I don't know, maybe he'll still be able to stay with the people he's been staying with who are probably a little more put together than Daisy. But Daisy, I don't know. She's risky, but I mean, I understand that he really doesn't have options. In fact, I was thinking of this earlier. A lot of people know that there is no help out there, so they know that, like, you pretty much have to, like, play the system and take risk. So, like that lady said in that video I had uploaded or re-uploaded, that's titled, what is it called? Oh, someone's response to my relative smear campaigning me or something like that. I didn't agree with a couple of things she said, but the overall idea of what she said is true. And she was like, nobody does favors for free or for nothing. And I mean, most people don't. I won't say nobody, but most people don't. And she was like, you have to, not you have to, but sometimes in situations like this, you kind of have to play the game with these messed up people who are messed up, but they're safe enough. So, like, they're not going to, like, beat on you or anything like that or rob you. And so I think that's what he's doing when it comes to the whole Daisy situation and trying to get her to get custody of him.
Son, you're 14 years old. I don't give a fuck. Get that through your fucking head. Stop being rude. Stop cussing. This is the problem that we're having. You think that you're grown. You're not. Well, right now I'm doing grown man fucking shit, so what have you about to say about that? I have 100 motherfuckers telling me a day telling me I'm 14. Think you're any fucking different? You're a kid. Bitch. You're a kid.
And that's another thing. You're always going to have to deal with ageism, most likely, especially in situations like this. And also, anybody that's always running around saying you're a child and I'm grown, they're always toxic. They're never not toxic. I can't think of anybody I've met that's always running around saying I'm grown and I'm an adult who isn't really messed up and has a lot of stuff going on. Like I said before, I was trying to give this one lady advice because she was with this quote unquote boyfriend who honestly didn't like her and kind of made it clear that he never really wanted to be her boyfriend. Long story. And so I was telling her, you really need to stop worrying about dating and all that bullcrap and really just worry about yourself and all that. And that's something I'm glad I learned really early. I never did the whole dating bullcrap. I did have a couple of abusive friendships, but I left that friendship stuff alone years ago too. So anyway, I was giving her some advice and telling her that she was being used and it was making her more depressed too. And she was like, wait a minute. She was like, you're really opinionated. Well, she said this about a couple of things that I've said, but anyway, she was like, you're really opinionated to be a child who's never had sex before. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything? But yeah, you're gonna have to deal with so much of that you're a child, you're a kid stuff. And that's the thing. You're a kid until somebody wants you in prison for the rest of your life. You're a kid till somebody wants to sexually assault you. You're a kid till you're what else? You're a kid till you get kicked out. You're a kid till you have to take care of yourself even before you become full-blown homeless. Like, people that are in situations like he is right now, they've most likely pretty much been taking care of themselves their whole life. And yeah, they've most likely been cooking for themselves since they were 5, watching themselves since they were 4, things like that. In fact, I knew this one girl who was driving herself to school in middle school. So, yeah, there's just I could just keep going, really. I could really keep going. What else? Should I even keep going? Because then I'm going to be off somewhere else. This is already almost 30 minutes. But yeah, and that's something that people will throw up in your face, the whole you're a kid, you're a child thing, but yet society doesn't really care about its youth because they drag them through the cash for kids system. They make jokes about trafficking. They make jokes about the situation you're in. They'll say things like, well, that's none of my business and I'm minding my business, and what's happening to you is between you, your mom, and your dad. They tell you you're a child and you're a kid, but nobody will step up to the plate and actually raise the children and kids. They just want to destroy the children and kids, which is the goal of a communist society. So, yeah.
You're a kid. Who gives a fuck? So go back to Gloria then. Go back to Gloria. She can't even fucking take me. Fuck are you talking about? Get your fucking ass straight, nigga. But why? Why she can't take you? Stop cussing at me. No, nigga. No, bitch. No, bitch. No, bitch. No, bitch. Bye. I ain't dealing with that shit. I really ain't.
And that's the thing. Like I said, he reminds me of so many people. He even reminds me of this one boy I knew.
Today, people treat you like shit because they can't handle their own pain. Learn how to let go. Separate yourself from the others. And you might succeed.
Like, you need to do a little bit of commentary. You know what I'm saying? Talk about your life. Talk about what you've been through. Talk about how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Because most human beings in the world don't really give a fuck about how you feel. So it's kind of hard when you want to be good, but at the same time, it's not like you could do anything about it. Like, my life's been kind of hard since my mother's been gone for a couple of years. Like, since my mother just passed, it's kind of been hard. You know what I'm saying? It ain't been like the same no more. It ain't like been like the same motives or the same gimmicks and shit like that. It was more really like, oh, life is here and life could be taken in. Now that the person that actually loved you in your life is gone, it's like nobody's really there. And it's like me, myself, and I. Shit, I feel like Miley Cyrus. Like, shit, I'm coming in like a wrecking ball. But that's not considered me, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm more like I'm coming through in a depressed state, which I don't want to be in. Like, people say, you a fun ass nigga to hang around, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're really fun to hang around. Like, people say I'm very, very cheerful. You know what I'm saying? I always get them out the mood. But it's always also the second thought in my head telling me that the person don't give a fuck about me. Person don't care about how I feel. A person don't care where I want to be. All they care about is what is I'm going to do to benefit them. You know what I'm saying? It's not really like something that I don't.
In being a man is ignoring the hunger. Because yes, boy, you're going to be starving. Starved of attention, starved of affirmation, starved of love, starved of being told that you are enough. Step 2 in being a man is comfortability with replaceability. You are only as good as you are useful. You are only as valuable as you are needed by others. Should there ever come a day, boy, where you fail to provide everybody with a smiling face, then do not be surprised when they say all men do is take up space.
Whose mom was the usual Jezebel, didn't like him or his brother. She also did some drugs. I don't really know what all drugs, but I remember eventually she overdosed on a Molly Percocet that she was doing them with her boyfriend, and then she died. And the sad thing is, this boy is still in a lot of cognitive dissonance, and that happens a lot. In fact, I know someone else who had a Jezebelic mom who eventually overdosed, but on fentanyl. And commonly, once the abuser dies, the person will go into more cognitive dissonance, and they'll be like, well, I just wish I would have treated them better. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You really should avoid sitting around arguing with anybody. I always avoided that. I don't even like arguing with people, and it's really not worth it because none of those people care about you or anything that you have to say. They don't care about themselves. Learn the grave rock. That's something I had to learn in this little self-confined placement that my mom got me put in once. You gotta learn the grave rock. And that's the thing. You know nobody cares about anything you have to say, and nobody cares about what they're doing to you or how they make you feel. So you just start doing what he's doing because they don't care about your emotions. They don't want to have a cordial talk. I mean, obviously, somebody that's telling people to drug her kid doesn't want to have cordial talks. So, yeah. Oh, was I gonna? I was supposed to be getting at a point. I don't even remember what it was.
Sit and talk with the homies for a bit. I'll show you my camp. So he's in my camp. This is one of the homies. He and I have barely spoken like 12 words to each other. We just kind of like.
Yeah, I don't really want to hear the Daisy part. Not really. Because it's probably going to be something that's not too important. But, yeah, so people say stuff like this. And that's really annoying because, like, somebody who's in a situation like this has already learned. They've already been through a lot of stuff. And, I mean, just the fact that people can make comments like she's making, most people never actually learn the lessons from these situations. In fact, you should really try to learn lessons from things you see other people go through. Like, what's an example? Why not to have 30 kids? Stuff like that. You should really look at people who are in those situations and learn lessons from that and try not to get yourself caught up in too much. But it's a really messed up situation. Like, if you don't know how to back away slowly and quietly like somebody advised me to do years ago, these systems are going to scrape you up and drag you through the mud and have you chained and handcuffed and tied to beds. I want to tell this one funny story from this girl I had met, but I mean, it's funny to me because, like, I don't know. I guess maybe the weird sense of humor you get from trauma, but I have no clue if it's going to be funny to anybody else, and I feel like it may just screw somebody's day up more than probably my videos usually do to people who probably still don't really care about these situations anyway, but it was funny. I don't know. Yeah, I probably shouldn't tell that story. I want to, but I don't know. I don't know how funny it actually is. Maybe I'll do a part.